quick tour of my home studio setup here. I'll talk about the hardware, then I'll talk about how the software works. So I have a laptop, I have a wind controller, that's a MIDI controller that uses breath velocity to control the attack, or different parameters of the synthesizer, like the filter, for example, is common. Let's see what else I have. An iPad that I use for effects and for as a synthesizer host. I also have a MIDI controller that has programmable knobs that I can use the knobs to control values on the synth or effects things too. I have another older iPad that I don't use much. And I have, let's see, Korg DW8000 that I don't use a lot except for as a MIDI controller. That's my primary full-size keyboard. It's velocity and aftertouch. And then the smaller 25 key one here is just velocity sensitive. But it does have the pitch and mod wheels, which are nice, as opposed to just the joystick. So those are my input devices. So the laptop is connected to this interface, which is an audio and MIDI interface. I have them in a little, like a rack bag type situation. Makes it a little neater. I mean, I still have a lot of cords dangling around, but it would be even crazier if I didn't have them in the bag. So you have the audio interface. It's a Behringer audio / MIDI interface. Has 4 audio outs. I usually only use stereo, so and it does have MIDI in and MIDI out, which is really good. I also have a second audio interface that connects to the iPad via a USB connector, and then those have an external power sources hiding in there. The blue light is a powered USB hub that gives juice for these two interfaces to work with the iPad. So this is the audio for the iPad, and then this is the MIDI for the iPad, and it's a 2-in, 2-out MIDI interface, which gives me more flexibility for connecting multiple MIDI inputs and outputs too. So if I want to send MIDI into the iPad and then connect a through signal from the iPad to the laptop, which is fun to do, like you could play the ARP synthesizer and then use a filter in the laptop to control the sound. You know, you can do that with the same single MIDI signal because you can pass it through. If you use AUM for the routing, it has this whole matrix, so you can easily connect the MIDI. I don't have the USB plugged in, so you're not seeing all the options, but you can easily connect the MIDI that way. If I can get it, there we go. See if there they are. So now you can see you can take the input and send it to the MIDI out, and then the MIDI out, and it is connected to the laptop right now. I was doing this routing not too long ago, so you know the signal from the wind controller goes in here into the laptop or into the iPad, then back out of this into the laptop, and then that's how you can play the ARP synthesizer and then use like the modular filter in the laptop to control the sound. I use a program in my laptop called Cantabile that's a host, and it's really flexible. You can do all kinds of things with routing, where you have your MIDI input, goes to a synth. You know, you can configure the synthesizer to have, oops, that's the wrong thing. You configure the synthesizer for breath control, all that stuff, and then you get the sounds the way you want, and then you can add your effects. You can chain all that stuff together. Kind of looks like this. They also have a view that shows, I never use this other view, but it shows the signal routing, and then you can see everything is going into the synth, and then that goes into the effect stuff, and then it goes to the main output, which would come out the headphone jack or would come out the audio out. A lot of times when I do the quick recordings, I just use the headphone output to go into whatever, like an iPhone if I'm shooting video, etc. That's how all that works. You can also use this, let me go back. So this is like a synthesizer routing patch, if you will, but I also have ones that are for audio only. Where is it at? Here it is. And then I don't need to save it. It takes a minute because I got the modular filter. It's a little slower to open. So this is the one where the MIDI would come in here. It always does that because it's from the prior patch. So the MIDI from the iPad comes out that interface, comes in here, and it's going right to the modular filter. The main microphone, that's the audio input, which is down here. And I haven't talked about the audio signal routing yet. I'll come back to that. So that's the audio. So the voltage modular effects plugin has both MIDI coming in and the audio from the iPad coming in. And then what you do with that, you're playing the notes on the controller, triggers the synthesizer on the iPad, which I have to reload. It triggers the synthesizer on the iPad to play the notes, which is cool, right? But the MIDI also goes into here, and it'll open and close the filter so that modulates the sound. It's really fun. And then in addition to the filter, then the audio just goes through your usual stuff, delay, ambient reverb, whatever you like. But that's how I set it up sometimes with multiple devices to get to get one synthesizer sound, it takes an iPad and a laptop because I'm mixing and matching. However, I can do similar routing, and that's what this patch is right here in the iPad, where I have this filter within the iPad. If I was doing that other routing, I would disengage it, but I have this filter, I have a delay, I have a reverb, I have all that stuff in the iPad too. So you can kind of mix and match a lot of different ways with my setup. So the way the audio routing goes, and then there's this module down here, I use that for MIDI stuff. Like I could put a MIDI file in XGEdit, and I can tweak and customize the different settings. And this is a interface that controls the module to make it easier to adjust, your chorus level, all that stuff. You can change the filter settings a little bit. And you can change patches. It's got all these drop downs. You can go through all the different patches. There's so many, I wouldn't even start. And then I can chain the audio into the interface down here, and then it goes in, and then any routing you want to do, or you could just adjust the mix level where you have the input mixed with the output for the other effects, and it all goes through the output. So basically that's what I'm doing. I chain all the audio together. So if I'm playing the iPad, that's this interface. Then the output from here is this cable. It goes into the second interface to the laptop, and that's how I'm passing the audio from my iPad through the effects plugins on my laptop. Or not. If I'm just running the bypass signal, I'd have it like this. If I'm running it through the effects, then I have it all the way wet. And also what you can do is you could use the MIDI input to play two different synthesizers, either layered or whatever, and you can use the mix control to go between that. So I might do a solo where I'm playing on the iPad and I have it all the way left, so it's only the input signal. It's not going through the laptop at all. And then I switch to synth 1 on the laptop, and the MIDI's triggering it all along. But if you have the fader turned to where it's only the input signal, you only hear the iPad, and then you can switch it back where you only hear the laptop. So it's cool. Anyway, that's some of the things I do with this. Be well, and everyone stay safe.